So, good morning. We got an active pattern the next couple of days here. My name is Tim Ealer, and I'm a meteorologist. And this is the water vapor loop showing the enhancement of the precipitation moving through the flow. I'm going to expound on the water vapor loop here in a minute. But, generally we have increased flooding risk today, snow out west, warm temps streaming all the way up into the upper Midwest. A severe weather threat will move further to the east as we go through the period. And then in the longer term, we potentially got potentially, it's going to cool down for a good portion of the eastern U.S. to near normal or below normal temps. All right. So, my name is, like I said, my name is Tim Ealer. Like my video if you like it, subscribe, and share with your friends. And hope you have a good day. And we'll get on with the analysis of the water vapor loop next. So I wanted to show this water vapor satellite loop here because it shows the moisture streaming northward here. It's pretty insane, the moisture axis here. The water vapor loop, generally the greens indicate more moisture, and when you have these enhancements here, generally thunderstorms in these areas, looks like a little short wave pushing through the flow right here, right now, right? You have your first system moving to the north through the flow, moisture coming up this way, up and over. You have another short wave, which is bringing your snow here to the Rockies today. Going to be ejecting into the plains today, and you're going to have some more energy moving to the south from up here, and these two will not necessarily combine forces, but lead to just some enhancement of the storms and severe weather and excessive rainfall next day or so. So as far as current hazards go, there's quite a bit going on today with snow um, in the Colorado um, area today, central Colorado, southern Colorado. And then to the east here, you have this system moving to the north with some snow up in Wisconsin. Rainfall streaming all the way up into Canada with some other embedded heavy rain here. Severe weather with high winds. Some severe warnings in the orange there. Special weather statements, flood watches. Okay. So quite a bit going on today. This will continue for the next couple of days. So let's go over the hazards here. Dense fog once again here into central Georgia, all out to the South Carolina coast, the Georgia coast, down to the Gulf Coast. With that flood watch further to the west here, parts of Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, down to New Orleans. With special weather statement, this has to do with high winds with the front moving through. And then further to the north, we have some gale warnings in the along the lakes, high wind advisories, uh, special weather statement here again for the high winds, and trying to figure out what this is. Flood advisory. Looks like we have some flooding going on right here. So we move back to the radar real quick. No rainfall ongoing here. This is leftover. Flood watch still up here in the parts of Wisconsin, and north of that we have winter weather advisory. So a lot going on here. Yeah, with the snow on the backside of the system. Further to the east in the Great Lakes, we got wind advisories, high wind warnings, high wind warning. So winds 25 to 35 miles per hour with gusts up to 60 today. So quite dynamic system moving through there. Out west, we got winter storm warnings in parts of Colorado. You can see where they are in the, I guess you would say pink color. winter weather advisories in other areas here in New Mexico, Colorado, um, down towards Roswell. It looks like we have some wind gap, um, high winds again down here in far south New Mexico into southwestern Texas here, and Montana avalanche warning. Okay, well, yeah. So be mindful of that if you're in that area. Some high wind watch here in parts of southern Wyoming and different freezing fog in the valleys there. So along the California coast, we got some high wind warnings, wind advisories. Looks like some extreme cold warnings in southern Arizona, freeze warnings. That's for tomorrow, to tonight, to tomorrow. And further north towards San Francisco, cold weather advisory today, with temps low to mid 30s. It's very unusual this time, for any time in California for temps to get that low, especially along the coast. Looks like some stagnant air up here into Oregon, just in the valleys with no movement of air. You can really have bad, especially people with asthma could have problems with this. So quite a lot going on, like I said. So be mindful when you're out there today. Well, as far as current temps go, what do we got? Well, right along the Gulf Coast, you can see where the most instability is today. I mean, um, in that area here, and that's where the severe threat is generally as well, the highest tornado potential. Further to the west, you can see cooler temps here, but even into Georgia, um, still in the 60s here. 60s going all the way up into the Cincinnati area. It's kind of shifted here, but you can see the warm temps going all the way up north here. Colder temps out west where the snow is, of course, so cooling off for them, for you guys out here, so it's a nice change from the warm weather. Some colder temps along the east coast, but overall not extremely cold, except for maybe in the parts of Minnesota here, North Dakota, single digits here, and some teens here in the higher terrain of Vermont, and even along the California coast and the valleys here, 30 degrees, which is quite cold. So gotta be mindful of that as well. Hope the orange crops and whatever crops we have out here are not affected by this. So we'll have to see how that plant pays out as well. So I'm laughing because we have a dense fog advisory again here. Can't seem to catch a break with this fog. We got the dense fog advisory here in central Georgia. We showed that on the U.S. hazards map. Visibility is a mile or less. So the visibilities aren't quite as bad, at least right now, as they were. However, next couple hours they could get a little bit worse before they get better here. So let's be mindful of that as we go to work today. Isolated its severe potential. We talked about the severe weather, but here it is again. This was issued yesterday, and this is still accurate. Don't really have a concern about hail. Damaging winds and tornadoes are possible with this severe event. And we have this increased chance of excessive rainfall, and we talked about that as well. A slight risk in the yellow areas and marginal in the green areas. So, where we have the heaviest rain, you could have floods and creeks and rivers arise very quickly. So be mindful of that, and don't try to drive through that. All right, it's not worth your life. You know what I mean? So, what's going on today with the high temps? Approaching 80 degrees in South Georgia, upper 60s in North Georgia with more cloud cover And rainfall, you can see generally partly cloudy further to the south and the east here into central Georgia and south Georgia. Tonight, the rainfall persists here in the north, pushing a little further south here, cloudy to partly cloudy overnight. Generally upper 50s to lower 60s throughout the state. And tomorrow, rain chances increase even more further south here. Thunderstorms, showers, generally in the mid 60s to near 80 here, or above 80, way to the southeast here in southeast Georgia. So depending on where the sun comes out for a little while. So it's going to be a nasty morning tomorrow for most of the state. As far as the 15-day temperature outlook for middle Georgia, we have a couple more days of, way above normal temps, and then, pretty much evens out to below normal temps for a few days, which is looking like trending below normal for lows for a good part of the period here. Maybe warming up some towards the end of as we get towards the end of the month, but overall not nearly as warm as it has been. So you can see the models are uncertainty's higher further out, of course, but the trend has been this way. I've been watching it every day for cooler temps here. So maybe a brief warm up in the middle of next week. But overnight temps close to freezing almost every day here for middle Georgia. So it really messes with your sinuses and other things when you have these temperatures changing so wildly. But that's pretty typical here in Georgia. So that's the way it goes. So today is a big day when it comes to heavy rain. We have a potentially serious situation here with a moderate risk of excessive rainfall, which means exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles of a point here. And I'm going to zoom in on this. Kentwood, Liberty, Mississippi, Brookhaven, all the way up to Polkville, Stonewall, Shubutu, Hattiesburg, all back down to Kenwood is in the moderate risk this morning. However, the the Weather Prediction Center noted that the axis of heavy rain could shift one way or the other. The amounts are, the models are showing pretty heavy amounts here, but exactly where we're going to set up is still somewhat in question. With a larger slight risk here, you can see in the yellow all the way up to Knoxville, Tennessee, down to the Louisiana coast here into eastern Texas, with a larger marginal risk all the way into parts of Georgia, and the slight risk is in the Georgia as well, almost touching central Georgia here. All right, so what's the total amounts expected here? Interestingly enough, I don't understand this on the map here. Yeah, I think this is a more accurate depiction of the amounts. All right, let's go for day one here. So 0Z, that's where the highest amounts are. That's today. For the axis moves further to the east there. More rainfall as we get through that time period, right? Go for day two. That axis heavy rain moves further to the north. You can see then it moves out, right? So excessive rainfall, there's where the risk is, right? And you move to day two, right? And the marginal risk moves further to the north here. And we looked at that with the totals here. So this is tomorrow. Marginal risk, Cartersville, Gainesville, Georgia, up into towards Knoxville, Tennessee, Bristol, parts of the higher terrain in North Carolina and South Carolina. So not as high of a risk of heavy rain, but still there nonetheless. So, as far as excessive rainfall goes, I want to delve a little bit deeper into this and show the guidance and what the guidance is showing where the heaviest rainfall is supposed to be. So, this is the Storm Prediction Center HREF high resolution model output, combines all the different model outputs here to give you a good idea where the different parameters are in place. And this is 48-hour QPF through Sunday, on, you know, 0 UTC, which is Saturday evening here. Expecting between 4 to 7 inches of rain in parts of, let's see here, Mississippi here, southern Mississippi. But you can see a water area encompassing the higher terrain of South Carolina, North Carolina, northern Georgia, where that marginal risk is up here. And this is your moderate risk for today, generally. All right, we don't have the rainfall outlook for this map overlay, but that's generally where the most precip is expected, at least right now. So this could change still where the axis of this is going to be, but this is as of this is the run 00Z today. So as we go through the day today, heed the warnings in these areas. If you live in this area, listen to local National Weather Service office. Pay attention to what's going on here. Okay. So as far as severe weather goes, we got the main show happening today. So this event has a potential to do a lot more, but I don't think it will based on some of the parameters we're seeing. But we have a slight risk of 15% here of severe weather, general slight risk, generally from the Woodlands, College Station, Texas. And this has been expanded to the west a little bit today, right up towards El Dorado, Birmingham, Alabama, Gulfport, Mississippi. And this is for today, okay, down to the Gulf Coast with a larger marginal risk all the way up into parts of Kentucky, Bowling Green, Chattanooga, Tennessee, generally riding the Georgia-Alabama border and points south towards Mobile, Alabama. And then to the west here, you have some general thunderstorms all the way up into Pennsylvania and New York State. And the marginal risk is extended here towards San Antonio, Waco, New Boston. So quite a large risk area here. So what threats are we looking at? Generally, a relatively low risk of tornadoes today in the New Orleans area, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Columbus, Mississippi, Monroe, Many, Jasper, Mississippi, or Jasper, Texas, with a 2% risk surrounding it, a little further west and east here into the north, up to Kentucky, where instability will probably be lacking, not as good as compared to right along the coast here, right? So wind is the biggest risk today in the yellow shaded area. 15% chance of winds exceeding 50 knots within 25 miles of a point, and you have the 5% wind risk in the brown here in that larger marginal area. Hail, further to the west here, we have 50% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch or more in diameter. And the larger risk surrounding it, a 5% risk here, back down to San Antonio, Warren, Arkansas, parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and along the Gulf Coast. We go to day 2 for the categorical outlook. Got a pretty long, strung out outlook area here. This is mostly driven by potential for wind damage. Right? Let me look at that real quick. You can see the 5% wind risk. All right. Generally, Baton Rouge, Columbus, Mississippi, Cleveland, Tennessee, all the way to Virginia, in the parts of North Carolina, South Carolina, Middle Georgia, down to the Gulf Coast. All right. Tornado risk, there is one here, centered roughly on the Atlanta area, although 2% tornado risk. Pretty low, but still there. All right. And this time will be tomorrow morning through mid-afternoon, likely. So, parts of Alabama, Atlanta, Greenville, South Carolina, all the way up to North Carolina, Northeast Georgia, most of Northwest Georgia here. So, let's be mindful of that as we have multiple threats ongoing here, including flooding in North Georgia as well, and parts of Alabama, Tennessee, etc. So, what's driving our severe threat and excessive rainfall threat in the next couple of days? And I'm going to go back to the Storm Prediction Center HREF Ensemble Viewer, and this generally shows the, I'll put this into motion here, the 500 millibar flow with the mid-levels of the atmosphere. I'm going to stop it right here, go back a little bit. The initial short wave further to the west here. You have another one diving further south here, right? You have a deep southerly flow, and we show that on the water vapor with a jet streak here further to the north as part of this system that's exiting to the northeast. You have your short wave, mid-level short wave moving through, this trough diving south. So the enhancement of the flow here as we get into Saturday morning, generally in the north, this north central, the central to Ohio Valley here. Whether you have this convergence could lead to heavier rainfall too, of course. And you see how you kind of lose the initial short wave that moves through the southern part of the flow, and you have this jet streak setting up here further to the north, and that's where this model run ends Sunday morning. Okay, so yeah, so if we look, it hit 850 millibars, which is where your low-level jet would be, right? You have this low-level jet going through the flow right now, which is enhancing the winds, right? And all this lifts out as that low at the surface moves out. And you see some enhancement here again at the low-level jet during the day on Saturday. And so the potential for tornadoes is kind of driven by this low-level jet here, right? When you have this low-level jet ramping up and you have some shear in the atmosphere, definitely can trigger some help enhance the potential for tornadoes, and that's likely why tornado threat is in this area. All right. So, right. Another parameter we look at is dew points, right? Dew points at the surface are a good indicator of where you get the most instability. And to begin this is already passed, but you see your surface low, surface feature moving to the north, 60 dew points streaming way up there, kind of getting pinched off. But you have a broad warm sector here. All right. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a surface low that's going to develop. You can see it here, right, and move to the north, although it's going to be kind of weak. which as it moves to the north, you go back to your low-level jet on Saturday. You can see your mid-level forcing is way up here. You have this surface low moving to the north. All right, so that's what's driving that. Now, if we go back a little bit earlier to today, and we put on the SPC outlook, let's go a little bit further along here. All right, so here's our outlooks down here. Let's put on the tornado risk here. All right, so we still have what looks like a low-level jet enhancement further to the south here as the system exits. Likely it was surface low, maybe getting going here a little bit. And then you got a resurgence of it again overnight, right? So when the SPC guidance for hail and tornado, right, this gives us a good idea why they have the risk the way they do. This is 24-hour guidance for hail. Not, you're looking at a 2% risk here. And when you overlay this, let's take the, let's put the hail risk here. You can see why they have maybe an enhancement of the hail risk further to the west. Although the probabilities aren't that high, and you can also see it overlaid with the updraft helicity swaths, which are a good indicator of where you're going to have rotating storms. So it overlaps the general area where your hail risk is here. Okay. Further to the east, there's not as much steep lapse rates, things like that to for hail, and the shear will be less. So that's where your biggest hail risk is. And if we go to a 4-hour hail risk, move this through map, you see the highest risk is overnight tonight, and it moves further east here. And you really don't have much of a hail risk after that, and that's pretty much what the SPC has been talking about. Then we look at tornado risk. Okay. When we go to the guidance for tornado risk through Saturday at 12 UTC, and you put the updraft helicity back on it. Quite a lot of rotating storms, but not overall showing the 24-hour risk as being that high for tornadoes. All right. So I think this risk is somewhat conditional still. So let's go to the 4-hour tornado risk here. Yeah, so not showing quite a lot, although the updraft helicity is there. They move further east into Saturday, then that's where the model run ends. So when we turn to winds, let's go the SPC outlook for winds here. Yeah, so definitely this is why they have the wind threat the way they do. It's showing overall higher probabilities in the yellow here, and this is 15% of high winds in these areas. All right, and it's surrounded by a smaller risk of 5%. So that explains the expanded risk for winds here. And further north, I think that it's somewhat conditional, but with all the forcing involved, things like that, with the cold front coming through, definitely could have that. All right. Now we go to the 4-hour winds risk. You see you have the highest amounts like overnight tonight, right? And then they kind of move through there, and you have maybe a smaller risk, not much of one here overnight. So we'll have to see with subsequent runs. You can see why it has it there, because you have some rotating storms this model is showing on this map. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. So this is a graphic, and I wanted to show this as well, showing surface-based CAPE, which is we want to see CAPE, which is energy, to feed these storms, right? And this also has 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative velocity, which is important for rotating storms to produce tornadoes, supercells, things like that. And when you have these values that are 100, 200 meters square per second square, getting up into the yellows here, you definitely have a chance for rotating storms here. To the north, you have some helicity here as well, but instability is lacking. You see where the highest instability here is in the red contours, okay? Although not that high, but right along the Gulf Coast, especially approaching 1,000 joules per kilogram. And the storm level helicity is maximized overnight here into parts of Alabama, southern Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and up to the north here as well. Although, like I said, instability is going to be lacking up here. So we go into Saturday. Yeah. Helicity values are still pretty strong here into Sunday. Although the energy surface-based CAPE is kind of limited moving further to the north with extent here. So that is definitely a limiting factor for storms. All right. We also look at the 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative velocity with these, and we got surface-based CAPE again, and we go through this. Okay. Going through the day today, you really start to pick up, although not a lot of values. I'm trying to look at my cheat sheet here for the values that would meet severe parameters. Your low level shear is not that great until further towards the end of the period here on Saturday, as that surface low gets going, right? And so a lot of the parameters don't line up for tornadic supercells, but we're just going to have to watch this today. All right. And I apologize if I had the dates wrong. Sometimes I was going through this, but you can see this run wants to bring some surface-based CAPE further to the north. And there's plenty of low-level shear here, likely with the cold front pushing through. So I definitely expect some thunderstorms. Whether we got severe weather or not is still in question for Georgia. Points further west, definitely further south, definitely a lot higher chances here. So let's be safe out there today, next couple of days, and then we'll get a break. And then we'll talk about the longer term and see what's next for the rest of the winter. As far as the data 3 to 7 U.S. hazards outlook, not a lot going on for the continental U.S. here, with a chance of high winds here in the central northern high plains, and some potentially high winds and heavy snow the 13th and the 14th of January here in southern Alaska. As far as the risk of heavy precip in the period the January 16th through the 22nd, this is an 8 to 14 day hazards outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. No heavy precip expected during this period for the CONUS and Alaska. As far as heavy snow, we still have that slight risk here up into the northeast corridor, along the Great Lakes, spine of the Appalachians here, generally inland of the East Coast. We maintain this slight risk of high winds the 16th through the 18th and far Southern California, desert Southwest, and southern Alaska, the northern high plains into the central plains here, and into the northeast corridor, and generally south in the Appalachians here into extreme northeast Georgia. Risk of hazardous temperatures here. Looks like we got increasing chances here for really cold temperatures up here in the northern tier of the U.S. once again after warming up for a little bit here, but 18th through the 22nd here, again in the northern high plains here. So when we look at the day 6 to 10 U.S. hazards, temperature outlook and precip outlook, we're in the middle of a pattern change here where temperatures will be trending below normal for parts of the eastern U.S. With out west looking like above normal temperatures here, and the above normal temperatures exiting the east coast as well. Like I said, this is the 14th to the 18th. This was issued yesterday, and have another update. They update this every day about 3 p.m. or so. Below normal to near normal temps in Alaska. Same thing in Hawaii, kind of split between the islands, as well as near normal to below normal Aleutian Island chain here. And day 6 to 10 precip, still below normal. Looking like precip amounts out west into the central plains to near normal towards the lower Mississippi, Mississippi Valley. And you see in green here where the highest probabilities of above normal precip are the northern tier of the U.S., northern high plains, and extreme southern Texas, and most of the Florida Peninsula, and in Aleutian Island chain above, all of Alaska above as well. Going to be wet up here, and especially in Hawaii also. Yeah, so as we move on the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, what we got going on here? A push of cold air pretty far south, trending either near to above normal for a good portion of the U.S., with a ridge still holding on here out west with above normal temperatures possible here, into the central part of Florida, parts of Alaska above, where that ridging is in place, and below further north, Aleutian Island chain, looking above normal temps, and Hawaii, parts of the Hawaiian Islands above normal to near normal further to the west. Moving on to the 8 to 14 day precip outlook, trending below normal still out west, above normal northern high plains all the way down into Texas till into the deep south here, near normal precip chances here in the upper Midwest to Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and the Northeast. Above normal in most of Alaska to below here, precip chances further to the southeast. Above normal in Hawaii and the Aleutian Islands as well. As far as monthly temperature outlook, I've been showing this every day since this has been issued, and this will be the last day because we're going to get an update on the week 3 to 4 outlook here today. So we should have a better idea towards the end of the month what this is going to look like. But I think it's going to be pretty similar here, with below to equal chances of temperatures being, below normal, looking more likely further to the north here, equal in between, a little above further south, and below to equal chances in Alaska, right? So monthly precip expected during January. Like we've been talking about, the trend has been to be below normal further south here into South Texas, the southeast, and into the Florida Peninsula, with above normal generally in the northern high plains, down into the desert southwest, generally east of the Cascades and Sierra Nevada range, So Intermountain West area. And like I said, Alaska, equal chances to above to below, depending on where you're at here. The week 3 to 4 temperature outlook. This is issued January 22nd. We issued again today, so we should have a better idea of what the trends are towards the end of the month. But generally below normal temp are looking more likely in the northern tier of the U.S. Equal chances to above normal temps possible here for to the south and out west. Equal to above in Alaska, Hawaii, and the Aleutian Island chain. And week 3 to 4 precip, you can see the areas here in brown, signaling the possibility of below normal precip chances to near normal for the central U.S. and desert Southwest and the parts of Texas. Above normal, Ohio Valley, Midwest, and the northern high plains into parts of Idaho. Generally east of the Cascades here. And then the white areas equal chances of above or below normal at this point. We'll have an update again today, like I said. Equal chances in Hawaii, in Alaska, excuse me, to below in the southern Alaska of precip here. And above normal in Hawaii to equal chances to below in different parts of the Aleutian Island chain. So guys, I appreciate y'all watching, and be safe out there, like I said, and happy Friday, and hope y'all have a good weekend, and God bless.